There we go. All right. Well, welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. We'll let people in as they get here. Appreciate everybody requesting the recording afterwards too. It's funny, we show up, there's only a couple of us, but then I get these bombarding emails like, hey, can you send the recording? I guess they know I have them. Happy to provide that. That's why we do it. You know, these are lessons that hopefully live a lot longer than the evening. So at least that's what we want to accomplish here. So tonight's discussion was on where focus goes, energy flows. And I feel like I have a lot to talk about here. It might go quicker than I anticipated, but first of all, what I like about this topic is a lot of people know that I'm a proponent of 75 hard, and I've coached a number of people through the years on how to run that program. If you're not familiar with it, hit me up outside the call or just Google it, 75 hard. You can learn a little bit more about it. But what's interesting about 75 hard as it relates to your focus, you can't complete the program unless you're 100% focused on the tasks, which are 5 critical tasks every day, right? So when you think about where your focus is at and the energy flows, 75 hard is the perfect example, living and breathing a program that shows the results of that. So if you're looking to learn more about how to develop practices and disciplines, especially as it relates to your daily energy, without having to commit to something, whether it's your business or something you're trying to do, 75 hard is a great way to start developing those patterns and disciplines. Hey, Jim, been a while. Good to see you. We were just talking about where focus goes, energy flows. Utilizing 75 hard is a perfect example of that. So anyways, that's a little bit of the intro. There's a few things I want to dive into though, real quick. I want to be crystal clear about this group, and I don't think that we've given any misconceptions about who we are. This is the coaching group that has a community around it. And, I always say I've paid the dummy tax, so you don't have to. Well, literally, we've paid a lot of dummy taxes between myself, Rod, and Rachel. And as you get to know other people in the group, we've all made mistakes. The reason why I wanted to talk about this briefly is over Father's Day weekend, I was with some friends. One in particular spends a lot of time on Instagram, like a lot of us do, likes a lot of the same influencers, likes some of the people that I've actually worked with or that I know or that I've been around in the past. And we're kind of going through the laundry list of people that I've worked with. And what's interesting is a lot of those influencers don't have the years of experience behind what they're talking about to bring real tangible value from a coaching perspective. And I wanted to define the difference here because you can listen to an influencer, you can get charged up because they're saying the right thing. And this is exactly what my conversation was over the weekend. You listen to some of these guys like, wow, that really hits home with me, right? And so then you get back to the office like, now what? Okay, I'm all charged up. Now what? Well, this group is about giving you that now what, okay? So you get charged up to make a difference or to do something in your business or in your life, but you're not sure what the next step is because the influencer forgot to give you the steps. Well, guess what? We're going to give you the steps here. We want to walk through those steps with you so that you're not just getting charged up and then falling off. You've at least have some tools or some consistency, which are these calls every week to go, okay, I took 5 steps forward, I fell 3 back, but I'm ready to go again. And let's take some more steps forward. So just know this is a coaching group to get you further down the road. Now, if we happen to say something that is motivational or inspirational, great. We're getting some little extra credit there. But we really want to coach you through what you're trying to do and accomplish. And I'll give you a really good example of how deep this well can be. Because oftentimes I surprise myself with, wow, I didn't actually realize I knew all these people or I had all these resources. I got a call this morning from somebody that's in this group, but none of you know him because he's never been on a single call. Unless you reached out to him when we had the back-end platform and you were able to communicate, you might have met him there. But he's never been on a single call and he hardly ever utilizes the group. But he reached out this morning after being in here for almost 2 years, by the way. He says, Jim, my son is graduating UCLA with honors come this spring, but he just wrapped up his final soccer game playing for UCLA. Now, he had a scholarship for playing soccer there before. He was at SDSU, and then they brought him up to UCLA because of his talent. He says, I'm looking for a sports agent for my son. We need to find a place for him. Well, David Meltzer was the first, pick, because David did own one of the largest sports agencies in the world. He's more of a marketing company now. So I did reach out to Dave, and he gave me a couple names of two of the top guys in the industry. But then I realized I had two other friends that were actually sports agents. One of them is the executive vice president for Wasserman, which is one of the other largest sports agents in the world, and they happen to excel in soccer. So I was able to connect him with that. And the point of all that is that in a coaching group, you have resources through us that might take you that next step down the road to get you a little bit closer to what you're looking for, or an introduction to the people that you'd like to meet, or a way that we can help you through our resources. And you're not going to get that from influencers. Influencers are going to cheerlead all day long. You're going to rah, rah, rah. And hopefully at the end of the day, you've got the motivation to go do something with that new incentive. But here you're going to get the actual tools to move a little bit further forward on your goals. So I just want to clarify that. Rod, I don't know if you want to weigh in that before I really get into our topic, but I think it's important that people know that what we're here for.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring this up, because this has been going through my mind too, Jim, because we started this group with specific goals in mind, and none of it was to rah-rah, right? The cheerleading stuff. And I think about some of the influencers even that I watch, and yeah, I need that motivation too. And I like to have my finger on the pulse, but that's not enough. You're absolutely right. And it's not enough for me. But it is motivational to watch other people fulfilling their dreams. And so there's a difference between coaching and watching and listening to other people do what they're passionate about. We're here to help you find what you are passionate about. And sometimes I find new passions within myself helping other people. And that's where I get my energy from this group, is in the helping phase. And people say, well, how do you know to do that? Or, how did you get that connection? I don't know. It happened by symbiotic relationships over the course of 40 years. That's how. So it's the shortcut of all shortcuts. But yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, Jim. It's important to know that. Thanks.
Yep. Okay. So looking at the topic, or going back to the topic from the introduction, where focus goes, energy flows. So many of you know that Samantha and I used to compete in Spartan obstacle course racing. And we had 4 solid years of doing that until COVID shut the world down, including, crazy enough, outdoor sports. Go figure, for athletes. No longer can you line up outside to go compete in a race. But we had a great run at it. And Samantha was on her way to a championship nationally in Lake Tahoe, where she wound up ultimately taking 3rd in the United States. And I had won the men's race that day. I was not a national champion. I was further behind than she'll ever be, of course. But what was interesting about the evening or the afternoon of racing, and it was successful for both of us, is that as we were leaving the venue, which was Squaw Valley, US, beautiful resort, we got our butts kicked. Both of us had podium finishes. And, I was feeling really good about myself. And my friend Archie, who competed against me in the 50-year-old to 55-year-old class, and he, the guy was a great athlete, but he was always just behind me. If I was first, he was, 3rd through 5th or somewhere around there. And he just had a lot of respect for me. And I did it with him as well. He always pushed me. But what was funny is I was walking out, Archie says, "Hey, good job today." I'm like, "Ah, thanks." He goes, "Yeah, but you don't have one of these." And he holds this up. Now, if you can see this, this is a belt buckle for the Spartan Ultra Race Series, which, if you know what ultra racing is, in anything running, is anything over 30 miles. So if you're running an ultra, it means it's defined as over 30 miles. And in Spartan Ultra Racing, it's 30 plus miles, all the obstacles, which equal I think it's almost 80 for that particular race. And I said, no, you're right. I don't have one of those. You're absolutely out of your mind crazy for running an ultra race. He said, Jim, don't knock it till you try it, right? And as I was leaving there, I was talking to Samantha about in the parking lot, like, that guy's crazy, right? But as we got home and we looked at our training and I looked at my schedule and I talked to my trainer, I thought, you know what? Maybe I do want to do something like that. Maybe that is next on my checklist of Spartan racing. So there I took my focus and transitioned it out of the series that I was racing and put it towards running my first ultra race. Now, it was like 6 months later before I saw Archie again, and it was after I completed, it's actually not the one I got this buckle for, but it was after I completed an ultra race in Lake Tahoe, and had taken second place in that race. And the point of that is that my focus shifted from what I was doing, and all my energy flowed towards achieving this. And I know that's an athletic or a gross example of how you can place an energy and a focus towards something. But even in racing at that level, the same goes for business. When you write out a plan, when you figure out what that goal is, when you figure out what that destination is, okay? So now you're mapping that out. You're collaborating with others. In my case, it was a trainer. It was other athletes that know how to run longer distances. So when I was training, I was going and running with them. It was finding the right environment to go run, whether that was hot, cold, up mountains, down mountains, both. All the things that kept my focus towards the goal. But then I realized, as it relates to the energy side of that, is that I was energized to do the work because everything was pushing that direction. And a little sidebar, I didn't put my life on hold with the kids and Sam and my businesses and the like, but my focus was there, which gave me the ability through the planning and all the work to get the job done. Now, that also requires an extreme amount of discipline. I think that that's where, in the title of this, that focus really should be placed on as an emphasis is the discipline to achieve something. And you'll find in your business, and I've seen this a lot, and Samantha will attest to it. I've literally gone to her and said, hey, this is going to be a really good month. And she's like, how do you know? I know because my focus is there and I can feel the energy flowing in that direction. And I would say probably 8 out of 10 times my intuition is right. It's not right because I'm just, faking it till I make it. It's right because I know the energy is there. And so what I want to do is encourage you to find your focus in the direction that you're headed for your businesses, whether that's entrepreneurial, racing, or entrepreneurial, working for somebody else. Find that focus and allow that energy to build up towards what you're going to achieve. You will get the momentum, and you'll get what I would call in the runner's world a runner's high. You'll get that focus high, and that's where that energy comes. You'll sit down at your desk and you realize, I know exactly what I need to do today to achieve success, because you're hyper focused on it, because you built a plan, you mapped it out, you're developing the discipline, you're collaborating with people, you're being inquisitive enough to ask for help when needed. Maybe that's from a coach, maybe it's from a superior, maybe it's from this group, but all things are going to culminate with that focus, and you'll see the energy to get you past. And what's neat about this is a lot of times we'll find ourselves in a lull in business. Things aren't going the way we hope they would, or, we're not feeling as good about our position, our success rate, or our finances. Well, this is where you dig deep to find that focus again and allow that energy to come back. All right. So here's a little refresher on a couple things that will get that back for you. Now, it's easy to say, write your goals down. Okay. But write your goals down. Rewrite your goals if you need to. Matter of fact, I've said it before, I've got a whiteboard on my left over here, and I took a look at my daily goals, which I have mapped out by the hour for the day, starting at 5 a.m. till 5 p.m. I relooked at that this morning. It's been up there about 6 months. And I realized, you know what? These goals still work for me, but I need to start working the goals. I lost some focus there. So what I did is at the top is I just rewrote today's date. Like these are good as of today. And when I get up tomorrow, I'm going to go back to the board and look at what it's telling me to do by the hour so that I'm focused again. And I guarantee that that energy is going to follow me through that process. Okay. So write your goals down. Now at the bottom of this, I have my why. And I know what my why is. And most of you know what my values are, which include my whys, God, family, giving back, health, having the time to do those things. The last one's actually business. But I defined my why a little bit better because I realized through my prior focus that I'm living the exact life that I wrote down 6 years ago. We were just talking about this the other day with Samantha. We're walking back from taking the trash to the end of the driveway, which is a little bit of a jaunt, not in a braggy sense, but we were walking back. I said, you know what? Look at this house we have. Look at where we live. Look at our animals. Look at our kids playing in the yard. This is exactly the life that we had managed to write down as our goal and objective. And we put our focus and energy towards that. And sometimes we forget that we're actually living the lives that we created. So on my board here, my focus board, I'll call it tonight, I rewrote my current why. And for me right now, it's more time with my family enjoying unique experiences. I realize we've been traveling a little bit recently, how much I enjoy traveling with my kids and showing them new experiences, right? So my work focus is going to develop some energy behind that, which ultimately it's going to feed my why, which is more time with my family, okay? So rewrite your goals or identify that your goals are still exactly what you wanted them to be. And as a highlight, write your why, okay? Now, if you don't think this works, let's look at the negative side of where focus goes, okay? I've been in the alcohol industry 30 plus years, okay? It's easy for me to dip back in and get into the routine of drinking and having a good time. I'm good at it. I've been doing it for a long time. I'm not proud of that, but here's what I realize, okay? If I'm going to take my focus on these goals that I have on the board, because nowhere on that board it says go out and have a drink tonight, right? And I'm not saying I don't like to have a good time or that that's not inclusive or that we don't have date nights. But imagine this, a night of drinking, right? Probably staying up late, probably getting up later than what you might normally get up. You might wake up groggy. You might not be as productive. You might have broke your diet. Maybe you ate some fried foods to go with those drinks the night before. All those things culminate into what could be the negative side of lack of focus, right? They even say that one day of drinking creates 2 to 3 days of fog in your mind. So imagine that you drink on Sunday night or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you're foggy. By the time you get to Wednesday, maybe you're doing something Wednesday, maybe Thursday, and then you're drinking again on Friday. You've had, 2 days of productivity during the week? So this is just a gross example of how when you lose focus, there could be a negative side to that and what that represents, okay? So try to stay on focus for your task. Some other ways that you can lose focus, outside of using drinking as an example, you could just be a complainer. You could always be complaining about, your life or how you're not achieving what you expected to achieve. And I guess if you really analyzed, if you are a complainer, how much time you're wasting doing that and how many others people time you're wasting doing that as well, right? So complaining could be a huge loss of focus. Being a glass half full person, right? You always think, well, I'm not good enough, or I can't, or I'll never be able to do that, right? If your glass is half full, you're never going to have the focus to do what you need to do. Okay. Trying to read my own writing here. It's just important to be cognizant of the things that will take you down and will take you off that focus. It's also important to surround yourself with people that understand what your focus is, that will help you achieve what you're setting out to do, right? So you want to surround yourself with good people. All right. So a couple other ways that you can get on focus. And this might be a fun one for you guys if you're marketing type. Maybe Alex will get into this, but create a vision board for yourself. good old fashioned vision board. And this is something we used to do in marketing before they had computers. And you could do a vision board on a computer, but grab some magazines or go online and print out some photos that appeal to your senses as it relates to your goals and your why. Okay, so using mine as an example, unique experiences. I was talking about taking my daughters to the beach and going surfing, right? Maybe that vision board is a family on the beach, or some surfers in the background, right? Create a vision board so that your vision and your goals come to life visually on something that you can refer back to, not look up, not scroll through your Instagram feed and hope that you see something good that inspires you, but an actual vision board that you can look at often and go, hey, that's where I want to be. That's my target there. It might even be, a full bank account, whatever that looks like. Create a vision board. Within that vision board, write your why again. Know exactly what your why is and be crystal clear with it. Here's the hard part. Generate a schedule that's realistic, that you can do on a daily basis, that will push you towards that focus that you need to get something done. Okay, so my schedule's broke out between 5 and 6 a.m., gym, 6 to 7, breakfast, reading, shower, wasting time on social media. 7 to 7:30, I'm feeding animals. 8:30 to 12 is my meat of my day, right? I'm doing all my top 5 activities. We talk about having a list of the top 5 things you need to do. Then 12 to 1, I'm eating lunch or having lunch. 1 to 5, that's leads, meeting, and then floating hours. Okay, floating hours are my opportunity to go hunting for more business. And then back at 5 o'clock, it's family, friends, and errands, stuff like that, right? Is that realistic? It can be with some discipline and focus. Will that generate energy towards my goals? Absolutely, especially if I do it on a daily basis. The other thing that you can do, and this is a Sean Whalen trick for anybody that knows Lion's Not Cheap and Sean Whalen, is creating 90-day windows of these goals. And then you can break those 90 days down into 30-day windows. Okay. So Anthony talked about last call selling his business, right? So maybe he's got a 90-day window that he'd like to sell his business, or maybe it's 180 days, whatever that looks like. But break that down into 30-day silos. So the first 30 days, I'm building out the marketing of my business. I'm making sure my books are tightened up. My P&Ls look good. I've created a for sale package, right? The next 30 days, maybe that's cold call outreach, or maybe that's warm call outreach. And then the last 30 days, maybe that's closing the deal, right? So that's how you take a big goal, wrap it into a 90-day window so that you can achieve it in small bites of 30 days. And that starts to go by pretty fast. And what's exciting about that is if you do it well and you stay focused, not only will you create the energy towards it, but you'll look back and go, wow, I got that done in 90 days. And then you'll be off and on to the next project. Okay. Now, I don't think it would be fair that I just talked about all the things that I've done or could do, or you can just assume I've always had success and I haven't had my failures. So I'm going to talk about a failure that I realized today. And I brought it up in the group before, not as a failure, but as a task, as a goal. And it is on my goals over here, by the way. I purposely skipped over it so I could tell you this story. If we remember, almost a year ago, for those of you that were in here, I talked about getting a real estate license. Signed up for the online school, got my books, took about 30 hours worth of lessons. And I don't know about some of you older guys in here, but when you get into your 50s, you're not remembering stuff as well. It wasn't easy. And I kept getting stumped on one chapter. And then I got busy. And so the way that these online schools work, you go through a chapter, you take a test. If you don't pass the test, you get to do it again. You keep doing it until you pass. Well, I didn't pass it 3 times. And then I was just like, screw it. I'm going to put that aside, refocus on some other work I was doing. Well, time just went by. And then all of a sudden I got this notice, your school course is now closed because there's only a window of opportunity to take the class, right? So basically I squandered 30 hours of study time and school time, all to go past the deadline. And the real estate school, if I want to do it again, I got to re-sign up and repay for it. Okay. Not a big deal. Can I afford it? Yeah, I can do that. Do I want to waste 30 hours? No. But here's the loss. Okay. probably cost me about 100,000 in potential earned income. My neighbors listed their house for sale a month ago or 2 months ago, $1.5 million. I could be a referring agent for that and get 3%. My other neighbors are listing their house on Monday, $1 million. I could have been a referring agent, another 3%. Okay. My neighbor's parents listed their house over the weekend, $1.5 million because they're going to go with their kids. All right. That's $4 million worth of potential real estate. I could have been a referring agent or the agent of record. Missed opportunity, right? All because I lost focus and then I lost that energy to complete the job. So, we're not perfect, but it's just a live example of what can happen with the loss of focus, right? So I'd encourage you, if you've got goals, that you stay in tune to them, write out daily what you need to do, take those 90-day windows, 30-day blocks into the 90 days and get the job done. Now, if my whole heart was in the real estate, I probably would have stuck with it. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. It seemed like the right thing, and it still might be the right thing. I've got a lot of other projects. So just wanted you to know there's a human side to this coaching stuff as well. We all start out to do things and sometimes we fall short and it creates a loss. But man, I was kicking myself in the butt earlier when I realized the loss that I had in potential sales. So, okay. That basically wraps up where focus goes, energy flows, as some good examples and how to recapture that. Rod, do you want to weigh in for a minute there? And get your questions ready.
Yeah, while everyone's getting their questions ready, a couple of things hit me while you were talking, and that is, we always think business, and that's our focus, especially in this group, right? It's entrepreneurs, so we're business focused. But if we don't have our personal life in order, our business life is never going to be in order. And I was thinking about Heidi and one of the interviews she just did on Instagram. If you're not following Fierce Grace Wellness, you should. And it was just about the simplicity of brushing your teeth and how that task makes you feel better, makes you feel more confident. I mean, you're cleaned up, you're ready to go. And what it's like when you don't, and all the side effects you can have from it. And so look at your personal life. When you're doing your goals, take a real quick assessment and say, how's your sleep? Are you getting to bed on time? Are you dealing with electronic devices in your bedroom, in your hand? What's your nutrition like? What are your relationships like with your spouse, with your kids, with your business associates? What are your personal finances like? Because if you don't have your personal finances in order, your business is going to reflect your personal life. So you need to get that in order. And then your fitness, all those different things. And what kind of brought this home, my wife and I, we had actually met with two couples over the weekend, and they were asking us different questions. It was about finances, personal finances, and they were asking us how we did things. And because we do a lot of cash, with my wife's business in particular, she gets a lot of cash. And they said, well, don't you keep some of that, and set it aside and, not report it and stuff. And my wife and I looked at each other and then looked at them. We said, absolutely not. We do everything properly and in order, because I don't want to take the chance of something bad happening. Right. And so we pay our fair share. And the other thing we do is we give generously. I mean, really generously to other people and causes and stuff. And it's because of those two things. We don't take shortcuts there. We don't take it in our personal life. I mean, we give God what God has given us back first. That's always our first priority. And then we give to other things as well. But if you're not giving, you're not going to get in your business either. So really take a look at your personal life with these goals. And when you translate that into business, it's a whole package. And you've got to get it all right, not just some of it. To hit on all 8 cylinders, or 6 cylinders, or 12, depending on what kind of a car you're racing here. If you're going to hit on all cylinders, you've got to have all of them going, not just half of them. So really take a hard look at that. And some of that's harder than the business stuff. We all can go to mixers and make new contacts and That's the fun part of doing business, and, actually closing deals and getting that adrenaline rush. That's the good part. That's the fun stuff. But the hard part is doing it right and writing the check at the end of the year to the tax man. And, we've never, there are times I get angry that other people aren't paying their share and I'm paying theirs for them, but that's different. I still pay my share. So it's that mental attitude. So I just wanted to throw that in there. It's the whole meal deal. It's not just business. Take a look at your personal life too. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to share that, Jim.
Yep, no problem. Again, if you guys got questions about your businesses or what you're trying to do, this is what we're here for. That's why going back to that, this is a business community so that we can help you with your businesses. It occurred to me too that having focus requires some discipline, but it's not that hard. It just requires you giving it some effort and energy every single day. My office overlooks a training facility for horseback riding. And I've watched a couple of females over there, and I used to consult for them until recently. So I know most of the people over there, especially from a distance. But these young girls, they're out there every afternoon on their horse riding. And I can see that they're progressively getting better and better and better because they're doing it every day. And that's really all it takes, is to have that focus, have that passion. I'm sure they know what their why is. It could just be to compete under the big lights somewhere. But whatever it is, they're driven enough to be out there every single day. And I always thought it'd be awesome one day for my daughters to run the American flag around the arena. And I've watched them recently training to run flags on their horses. You don't just do that because it freaks the horse out, but that's another story. But, to watch somebody else being focused from a distance and knowing that they're going to achieve something is pretty cool to watch. But it's not that hard if you're willing to put in the time. So I'm asking you on the call tonight is put in the time and effort towards your goals and your why, and watch that focus turn into energy that you won't be able to harness if you do the time. And you'll know if you're doing it or not. It's just like going back to 75 hard. I love when Andy Frisella talks about 75 hard. He's like, you'll know if you're not doing the program right. I don't need to tell you. There's nobody overseeing whether you do it or right. You just know from an integrity standpoint and in your own mind if you're doing the program right. And the ones that do, when they get to the other side of that, everybody can tell you've achieved something. And if you didn't cut a corner, they'll certainly tell. If you did cut some corners, you get some guys like, oh, it wasn't that hard. They didn't do it right. So I'm asking you to find your focus and get after your goals and your why tonight. So, all right. Throw those questions out. What do we got there? Jim, good to see you. Good to hear from you. Go for it.
It's been a busy spring, early summer here.
Good.
Question going back to goal setting. When you do them every day, should there be intention to come up with new goals every day? Or if you haven't gotten there yet, do you just keep writing them down so you're reinforcing them? What should be, or is there no right or wrong answer?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, Jim. And there isn't really any right or wrong answer because it comes down to what, our actual bigger goals are, or what we're hoping to achieve through our smaller goals, or your daily goals, I should say, right? So when I look at my daily goals, I know if I go through that process, then I'm going to achieve a portion of my larger goal. Now, if I don't get something, right, if there's something on that list, it carries over. And this goes back to a principle that I think Andy Frisella defined pretty clearly on his 5 goals a day. And that is develop the habit of doing something. Once you've developed that habit, then that comes off the list and you start a new habit, right? So I take that practice into my goals. Like, okay, this is what I want to do today. Right now, I've got some writing I need to do for Tequila Aficionado. I think I told everybody I'm a guest writer for their magazine. Well, I've got some writing I need to do. Now I've got a deadline. It's off in the future, but I know that's on my goal list, right? So I didn't get to it today. So it'll be on there tomorrow. Once I write that, I'll check that off and then I'll fill that space with something else. It allows me to allocate a certain amount of time to tasks for the day. and know that if I don't get to them, it rolls over. And if I do, then that time opens up to slide something else in. And that's how you take those bite-sized pieces out of that elephant, right? And this goes back to what we've talked about in starting a business. Maybe you've got a full-time job, but you want to start your own business. Take small bites out of the big piece, because after 90 days, you're going to realize, wow, I made some progress on this thing. But that goes back to having the discipline to take a little bite each day, even if it's 5 minutes, so that's how I approach it. I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah, no, that helps.
Yeah. Okay. Alex, what do you got, buddy? Anything?
Yeah, I'm curious. What do you say to people who have tried starting this? I was looking up the 75 hard when you said it, and have tried and then didn't make it, right? And had to. I kind of equate it to people who want to quit smoking, and it takes them 4 or 5 tries, and then all of a sudden on that 5th try it works, and they don't even know what the difference was, but for some reason it worked. What do you say to people who have tried to start programs such as this and try to get that ball rolling and have had a rough time keeping it rolling?
Yeah, well, I'm going to answer that for you, and maybe just for the point of it, Jim can give a little bit of an answer too, if you don't mind, Jim, because you went through that program. There's a couple things. First of all, is when you set out to do something, do the research enough so that you have an informed decision to do that, right? So if you're going to quit smoking, I don't know anything about that. I hear it's the toughest thing in the world to do. But I would want to research, like, okay, how do I go about doing this? Do I need professional help? What resources do I need? Am I going to get a patch, and how fast can I taper down and then get off the cigarettes? All those things, right? In the 75 hard program, there's a fair amount of resources out there to say, this is what is entailed in that, right? And you need to make that mental decision, like, okay, I want to achieve this, and set aside not only the time, but the attitude and the ambition to do it. I'm a firm believer, though, that if you start something and you don't finish it, and then you go back to it and you start it again, you're developing a habit of quitting, right? Or not finishing stuff. And then you start to become okay with that. And that's not okay with me. So what I would highly encourage you to do on that program or anything else is do enough research to say, okay, I can do this. And what I love about 75 hard is it's not a huge amount of time, and you can block it down into short windows. Andy even puts out, the program's free, but Andy puts out a book that breaks down 75 hard. I think it's in 10-day increments to tell you what to expect. So you understand what your body and your mind's going through. So that's how you can achieve something like that. I would not set out to do it if you even remotely feel like you might quit, because you're not ready for it then. Okay. And alternatively, I wouldn't say I'm going to do this, but I'm going to start it next month on the 15th after I get past Joe's birthday, because I know I'm going to eat cake and drink beer. There's no right time to do something like 75 hard. You either do it or you don't. You make the decision to do it. Matter of fact, I had a guy over the weekend call me. He wants to start 75 hard. He says he was going to start today. I said, great, I'm going to coach you. I ordered him a book. I sent him some well wishes, a bunch of materials. Texted me this morning. He goes, well, I've got this class in the middle of the week. I know it's going to derail me, so I'm going to start next Monday. You might as well not even do it, because there's always going to be something, right? So you got to, and that's another thing that I love about this program, is it helps develop the disciplines to figure it out every single day, right? How am I going to achieve these 5 goals every single day, big and small? And by developing those disciplines, they will carry into your daily business life. 100% guarantee it. You'll be a better person for it. So I'll leave that to Jim to weigh in, because Jim did the program a few years ago, and I know it made a huge difference in his life.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Alex, the only additional advice I would throw on top of what Jim already said is, if you've tried it multiple times and whatever the reasons were that you failed, figure out what those reasons are, and then reverse engineer those before you go into attempting it again. I knew that I had kids that were asking for help with homework, and I started off and I was still getting this question. I had to go out, I had to do my outdoor walks at night or whatever the exercise was. And I said, look, it's 90 days or 75 days. You need to plan around my schedule. And there was a couple of times it was like, Dad, this is the only window I've got. I'm like, sorry, you know the rules, you know what I'm after. I'm 30 days in or whatever it is. You need to work around this. And if that means you got to stay up a little bit later or you got to switch your schedule to accommodate me, that's what you need to do. That helped. That then took, after a couple of weeks, that went away. And then that was no longer, a challenge for me. I had to make accommodations for my wife. I had to make accommodations for, other things that were coming in. If I knew the weather was going to be an issue one night, I might go a little earlier. It was that planning ahead and figuring out what some of those obstacles might be that might cause me to fail. Getting the app was a big help, and having it in front of me every day, giving me notifications on my phone. Don't forget, the picture. I think when I failed, Jim, I think 4 or 5 days in, I think I missed a workout by like 5 or 10 minutes. I didn't plan early enough, and I failed at that. I made sure I set 2 alarms on my phone that I was getting up at the time that I needed to. I made sure I was setting an alarm at night to remind me to take that picture. So just putting in those helps to ensure that I didn't forget something. I didn't, I planned far enough ahead. My kids wouldn't bother me. Taking those out of the way was a big help.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. And by the way, Jim, just touch on it briefly. I mean, when you finished that program, you were like a new man. You developed some habits, but I think some mental toughness and acuity that maybe you had forgotten that you had at some point because you were just a sharp person, like you were all in.
Yeah, it's been a big help. Now the new challenge is long form fasting, and it's a mindset thing. It's knowing that, put your mind to it, you can do it. And I hear all the time people saying, I could never do that. Well, if you could do 75 hard, you could do a lot of things. If you could do long form fasting, you could do 75 hard. So it's challenging. It is. And I 100% different mindset now than I was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. So, the other thing, by the way, Heidi, I know you jumped in a little bit late because you're in the fitness world. The reason why we're making this correlation of 75 hard is because the topic for tonight was where focus goes, energy flows. And 75 hard is a great example of that because of the process, right? But Alex, what's incredible about this program is it's exactly like being an entrepreneur. It's hard. Business is hard. Being an entrepreneur is hard. Doing what you're doing is hard. But you can do it and you'll figure it out. And so because the guy wanted to jump in the program this morning, I'd sent him Andy Frisella's podcast on 75 hard. I thought, I should re-listen to some of it just so I know what I'm sending out again. It's been a little while. And, Andy talks about, and I live this because I've done 75 hard, I think 5 times now. But Andy talks about, some days you're not going to be able to get your workout in until 1 a.m. and it could be freezing cold outside. I know back in January, I was getting my outdoor workout in minus 35 to help my neighbor finish his 75th day. It happened to be minus 35 on his last day that I committed to helping him on to get through it. Yeah, it's hard. But like Jim just said, if you can do that, you can do anything in business. And so those skills are transferable into business, into life, into personal. So Heidi, have you done 75 hard before?
No, but I talked to Rachel. She says I live 75 hard every day.
You probably do. You probably do. So I love that. So
There's
Alex,
just some non-negotiables for our health that we do,
Yeah.
And that's what 75 hard, I feel like, teaches.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, I've heard some people say, that is the value of 75 hard, is that you develop some non-negotiables, which once you've done that, develop your own non-negotiables. What does that look like for you? And then just make that part of your daily habit. So Alex, does that answer your question for you?
Yeah, no, it does. I was just curious how some of you guys had started programs such as that and been able to continue. So yeah, no, that was good.
Well, and again, in brief, know that it's going to be hard. But again, like Andy said in that podcast today, you're out there in your regular place where you go run out in the woods, up here in Montana, you got the mountains, you know, you're running in the woods on a regular day, you might have 20 people out there, but on a crappy day, you're the only one going, holy shit, I'm the only guy out here crazy enough to do this, right? It's those moments that you get to look back on and go, okay, I was just crazy enough to stick it out. And that also happens business, right? It's like, I was just crazy enough to say, I'm going to be a race car driver, right? So it can happen. Rod, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I just wanted to throw out there that, you know, we have paid the dummy tax. And Alex, you brought up the question about, you know, quitting smoking. I am a former smoker. And if anybody out there on this group, or if you know somebody, a family member who has addictive problems, and it is an addiction, I did overcome it. And I when I was in college, I smoked a lot of pot, and yes, I inhaled, and I overcame that addiction. And when I was in network marketing, I was addicted to the rush of building business and building it fast and making a lot of money. And I was a dickhead. I was addicted to it. And you have to find that balance. There are tricks and tools and helps that, again, if you're struggling, reach out, because, you know, we've been there. I know Jim hasn't smoked, but, you know, I've been there. I can help.
Right on. Chris, go ahead. Unmute yourself, buddy. Good to see you, by the way.
How's it going? Yeah,
Good.
it's been a while. I've been super busy, but I did 75 hard probably a year and a half back. I didn't complete it. And all I can recommend is I was at day 50 something. And it is hard, but once you get in the routine, it's not too bad. But I made the stupid decision of saying, I was at a friend's house. I go, I'm just going to have one drink and I'll start it over again because it's not too bad. Well, that was the worst thing you can ever do.
Yep.
And I restarted it again a couple times, got 30 days, 40 days, and then I got busy or whatever. I got sick. And I haven't started it again because I told myself if I start it again, I have to complete it. Don't ever make some little excuse that you'll just get back to it, because it does defeat the purpose of the game.
Yep. And that's, again, this program's designed to develop some mental toughness. And, you know, because it's free, it's great to talk about. It's a very popular program, but these skills are applicable in business. So no, just when you're an entrepreneur and you're doing stuff, it's going to get hard. And it's not having that one beer at your buddy's house thinking you're going to start over again tomorrow, because then all of a sudden you start making exceptions for yourself and what you're doing. So, hey, Chris, great point.
And it's not bad to do it, because you still gain from the effort put into it. You do that for 20 days, you still gained some of the knowledge of it, but until you finish it, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, truth. Okay. Hey, Heidi, I wanted to jump to you real quick. Sorry to put you on the spot, but congratulations on your move and your life change. I'm thrilled that you're here tonight. Do you want to share anything about your business or how that relocation is going to affect you or how we can help?
Absolutely, Jim. Thank you so much. Yeah, tomorrow I have a client here that I have acquired in Billings. So I've been here, I think 14 days. I've got a new client tomorrow.
Awesome.
So that's good. So just showing up, you know, I go out into the world and then I communicate, and I have business cards and I talk and I show up, and I've done 3 classes here that were extreme. I went to a sculpted class in 120-degree heat. And then I went into a spinning class, and then I just finished hot yoga at another studio. I gotta tell you, their version of hot yoga in Billings or hot is hot. Oh, so yeah.
If you don't mind, because look, everybody, we all have life changes. You know, we aspire to be somewhere else. That may incorporate a move. There's times where you're going to have to be bold and do something about it. And Heidi just did that. Could you explain, and maybe it's a nothing burger, but how did you gain that new client in Billings?
Well, I just show up as myself, and then I articulate, like, I'm like, hi, you know, like, well, people that are like, I'm in a situation that is fitness and health and wellness. And then I start communicating like, hi, that was a really hard class. What did you think? And I ask open-ended questions. What did you think about the class? Or, you know, and then I just start talking a little bit about, they say a few things, and then I say, oh, I feel the same thing. I feel the same thing, even though I'm a health and wellness coach or a personal trainer or nutrition specialist. I thought it was hard too, or I thought it was challenging. Oh, really? You're in the nutrition field. I have some questions. Like, I don't really understand about macros. I don't know how much protein I should be getting or carbs or fat because, I know eat healthy, but I don't know if that's doing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, well, I can help you. Let's make an appointment. Come on over. I'll do an in-body scan and I'll get your nutrition specifically dialed in for you so you can feel and be your best. When would you like to come on over to my new home office? Let's go.
Awesome. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's encouraging and good for you for jumping right in, between a move, settling, trying to enjoy it for a moment. And then it's like, okay, well, I have a business I need to get going here. So you're 14 days in, you picked up a client, that client is always proof of concept too. Whether this is her first or 300th client, she's proving concept now in a new area where she wasn't afraid to throw out what she does because she has the skills, she has the focus, she knows what to do, it's repeatable. She just changed her address. Okay. And I want you guys to use that as encouragement because I don't want anybody to feel stuck where they're at. Maybe you're perfectly fine where you're at, but if you aspire to make a change, here's a life story of an entrepreneur that moved her business and is already on the first client. I guarantee you, next year at this time, Heidi's going to have a full roster of clients. She's going to be talking about it, how she's hiring somebody. I mean, who knows what you're going to be capable of in a year from now, but
well, yeah. Well, the goal is like what Rachel and I are creating is an online, business, an online store for any person that is on their journey to be the best version of themselves. Like Fierce Grace Wellness will be an online platform, just like Dana Lynn Bailey. She charges $14.99 a month for you to have her workouts. That's the same sort of concept I'm going to go for, but it's going to have mind, body, soul, nutrition, and workouts. And we're going to go and we're going to touch all the hearts and minds that we can in the world and make a difference. And, 75 hard might be good for someone that maybe is like of normal functioning capability, but I'm going to be honest, someone like myself that comes from maybe crippling, I don't know, mental anguish sometimes that I came from, it might be too much. And sometimes something is always better than nothing. So if you can't even walk, you're going to have to crawl, and if you can't run, you got to walk. And so something is always better than nothing. So sometimes people might need to do a softer version of 75 hard so that you don't, put yourself in a position where you're unable to do it. Like that's one of my key things. Like, or if you're an extreme person and maybe you've pushed yourself too hard in your life, 75 hard might leave a really bad taste in your mouth about post-traumatic syndrome and be like, man, like, I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. And I just want to touch in real quick about when you're doing and setting goals, if you find yourself hitting your head against the wall, that's a moment when you got to lean into that and ask yourself a really honest question. What is my challenge? What is my barrier? Is it me? Is it the goal? And you got to get real with yourself because you get to learn from those challenger barriers, and that's how you move forward. So anyways.
Thank you for that awesome input and congrats on your move. Super happy for you. I love that you're working with Rachel. She's very talented. And that just goes back to the resources that everybody has in this group. I want to give one more compliment to Wayne, not because he sent me a nice message over the weekend about our race days, but I love watching Wayne and his life unfold because when he figured out his why, which was his wife and kids about a year ago, I think they were always there for him. I don't want to take that away from him, but he really was clear, like, hey, I got to be focused on these guys. I love watching his story unfold. And a lot of times I'm envious because he's doing some stuff that I wish I was doing. So good job, Wayne, following your plan there. So, all right, well, we're almost at our time. Look, again, as I started this with, we're coaches. We paid the dummy taxes. So I want you to reach out to us if we can be helpful during the week with something to get you further along. Several of you on here I've not heard from for a while. Don't be afraid to reach out, schedule a time. Let's jump on a call, whatever it takes. I know Rod's been in communication, but we want to see you have those successes, and it's through our networks and resources that you're going to get there. So I look forward to getting those calls or getting those requests when they come in, and I'm always happy to accommodate. So just know that. I know that Rod is as well. So Rod, any closing thoughts before we wrap it up here at 2 minutes still?
No, closing thoughts are a great call. It's nice to just refocus our goals. And sometimes that's all we need to do is refocus. But the memo from tonight is consistency. Get in there and just be consistent. Even if it's a little bit, be consistent. So good job.
Right on. Okay, Heidi, when that program comes out, I look forward to seeing it because I've paid for Dana Lynn Bailey's for long time, and she does a great job. So I look forward to seeing yours. I'd be happy to buy a subscription. Okay, see that
Thank
thing
you.
go.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, have a great week. Okay, make good use of your time. Stay focused.